Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to For StarCraft 2 Strategy. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Zerg strategy. Now in this replay, our Zerg player is Nani, and our Terran opponent is Quacky. So again, this is a Zerg strategy that we're going to be looking at today. More specifically, we're going to be looking at how to deal with the early bunker wall-in that a lot of Terran players have been doing lately. Basically consists of placing two bunkers at the base of your ramp and filling them with a couple Marines and kind of forcing you into a couple positions. It either forces you to stick to one base play, and then just try to work off of one base, tech up, and either use Nidus Worms, or Overlord dropping, or Mutalisks, or it forces you to get either Banelings or Roaches to bust through that. Either way, it puts you in a position where you're not going to typically be doing what you initially had planned to do, unless, of course, you planned on one base play. But most Zerg players definitely usually go for some sort of a fast expansion. That seems to just be the general case and what they're comfortable with and what's best for them. So knowing this, Terran players have been doing that bunker wall in, and it can be very difficult. So we're going to show you how to deal with that, and then how to transition and deal with their likely tech switch, because in going for that bunker wall in, they do feel pretty safe to do a few things. They can either go for a fast expansion, or they can tech up really quickly. And in this particular replay, our Terran opponent does tech up quickly, and we're going to show you how to deal with that as well. So basically, the composition that we're going to be looking at is Speedling Muta, but we're going to be tossing Banelings into there as well to deal with that frontal wall in, and then also any bio that he might have or decide to push out with. That's going to help with that as well. So what we're looking at as far as standard build order here at the beginning is that 14 Extractor followed by 14 Pool. Again, doing the Extractor before the Pool is going to allow you to move to the tech of your choice as soon as that spawning pool is done. You could either use the Vespene gas to go for Roaches, you can get that Speedling upgrade, or you can tech straight up to a Lair. Now, the Speedling upgrade being the most prevalent of what you're going to be seeing when you're going for that faster Extractor, because getting those early Speedlings can be very beneficial to you. As you can see here, we are going to be dropping one of our drones and creating an Extractor on his Vespene Geyser. Now we're going to be doing this because it's going to deny him any fast tech that he may be otherwise going for if he was planning to go for a 1-1-1 build, or if he was planning to go for like heavy siege tank early on. This is going to delay that significantly, because typically right about now is when they would be dropping that second refinery. So doing that's going to be very beneficial for you. Now as you can see, just as soon as our spawn pool finished created and we were at 100 Vespene gas, we did pull our drones off of our Extractor. We started researching that Metabolic Boost, and that's basically it. I mean, the main purpose of what we were doing was just getting gas for that Metabolic Boost, getting those Speedlings early on the board, and in fact what we intended to do was go for that fast expansion. As you can see, we were about to move out with our drone to fast expand, but now as you can see, here's that problem that we're being faced with. This is that double bunker placement that a lot of Terran players have been doing, and it's very tough to deal with. Because the attack path is so small here for either bunker, it's pretty easy for them to repair the bunker while you try to attack it with your Zerglings. Just because there's only so many Zerglings you can have attacking the bunker, you're not able to kind of get any sort of surround on it. So with an SCV behind it, repairing it, it's very difficult to break through unless you have Roaches or you have Banelings. So that's kind of the decision that we're faced, that's kind of the position that we're put in. Seeing that, we went ahead, we put more guys back on Extractor, because we know at this point we are going to need Vespene gas, and we do decide to go for that Baneling. Now the other choice that we would have is to spread the creep over here and put some spine crawlers down, and they could just poke at the bunkers. Now unfortunately, you'd have to wait a very long time. You'd have to put down a creep tumor, wait for the creep to move over, and then place your spine crawlers there. So that's kind of something that it's not the best for us. If we want to go for that really fast break, what we're just going to do is go for this Baneling nest, get a few Banelings, bust through one of the bunkers, and then take out the other one quite easily, because we'll be able to surround it. So that's generally what we're going to be looking to do. We do have this Overlord right here just to the west of our opponent's base. We're going to start moving that now. The purpose of this is we do want to get some scouting information, see what we can see our opponent is doing. And as soon as we're able to break through this, as you can see, we are morphing in these Banelings right now. As soon as we're able to break through this, we are going to go ahead and drop that expansion. Because again, we weren't intending on one base play. That's not what we're comfortable with, and we do want to get that second base up as quickly as possible. Between the extra larva and the extra economy, it's definitely going to put us in a much better position. So moving forward with these Banelings, we only actually end up using, once we see that he retreats from it and doesn't have any more Marines, we only use a few Banelings just to weaken it a little bit. Might as well save these Banelings for another point, use them against our opponent's use them against our opponent's army as opposed to wasting them on these structures that are going to be gone in a second anyways. And at this point we are going to want to move out just to try to see what our opponent's doing. Now that we finally have cleared up this path here, we're going to be doing our fast expansion as well as teching up to a lair, and we're going to be doing that at 33 supply is when we start getting a lair as well as that hatchery. So as you can see, moving out to our opponent's base, trying to see what's going on, trying to figure out what they're doing, so we can have a better understanding of what we should plan to do. We're going to poke up, we're going to get a little vision, we're going to see precisely what's going on. Now, a good thing about playing against Terran players as Zerg is a lot of the times you're going to see a majority of their production buildings at the front of their base because they are worried about a speedling run-through, so they do typically want to block off. And now in putting these production buildings, it prevents you from being able to properly Baneling bust through it. However, at the same time, it shows you what the majority of their production buildings are. So as you can see, we saw one factory with a tech lab. With that, we can expect either siege tanks or Thors, and then we saw 2 barracks. So we can expect some sort of a marine-heavy composition as well. Now we do finally have this expansion going up. It's just about finished now. We are also getting double extractors. The reason we're doing that is because we do plan on going for those Mutalisks again. What the initial intention was that speedling muta build. That's something we've covered in the past here at StarCraft 2 strategy, but we're just showing a slight variation in dealing with that bunker wall in. We were able to get those Banelings. That's going to help us deal with that bunker wall in. And again, if they go for any sort of a bio-heavy build, having these Banelings and having created that Baneling nest is going to help with that as well. So now that expansion is up, we're going to be pulling some drones from our main base and moving them on over to this expansion. The main purpose of that is try to get these extractors saturated as quickly as possible because we're going to need a lot of SP and gas once the Spire is up and we start creating our Mutalisks. Now at this point, this is where the pressure is going to be coming from our Terran opponent. As you can see, we did see a Banshee. We also had seen a Thor there as well. So we do know we're going to be expecting Banshees and Thors. In order to deal with that, we're going to want to get those Mutalisks out as quickly as possible. We're creating a bunch of Zerglings as well, and we're also going to be making a few more Banelings. We did see a slightly marine-heavy force as well. These Banelings will do very well against that. The Mutalisks, as long as spread out properly, as long as they don't clump up, they can do well against the Thors. The main problem against Thors with Mutalisks is that Thors do splash damage, so if your mutas are clumped up in one big group, then they're going to get obliterated. But if you can micromanage properly, split them up into maybe 3 or 4 control groups and surround the Thor, they're not going to do nearly as well. So that's a tactic that you definitely want to try implementing. Also, if you go and take a look at teamliquid.net, they do have various discussions as to how to properly deal with Thors with Mutalisks. Definitely a very valuable source there. So as you can see, our Terran opponent is moving up now, and all we have at the moment are basically a handful of Speedlings, a couple Banelings, and these Queens here defending. We did just have these Mutalisks warp in. Not warp in. We did just have these Mutalisks finish creating, so we are going to be able to use them as well. And what you're going to see again is kind of spreading them out. We don't want them in one big group when they engage. This is a very hard push from our Terran opponent. It's going to be very difficult to deal with. We do want to wait till they're a little bit closer to these Banelings, and that way we can move in with them as soon as they're done creating. At this point, we've almost mentally given up our hatchery. We just want to get rid of this army as quickly as possible. Luckily, he doesn't take it out. As you can see, we do move forward with our Speedlings, get us around on those Marines, and then those Banelings moving in to kill off the workers that were repairing the Thors. Now, once we have the Thors out of the way, it's going to be no problem. We can easily handle this Siege Tank and these 2 Banshees because we do still have these Mutalisks up. And I don't know if you saw, but as we moved in with our Mutalisks to engage those Thors, we did avoid directly engaging them as a clumped group. They were spread out slightly, and that's precisely what I was talking about earlier. That's the proper way to deal with it. So there you go. We properly defended that push. They started off with that wall in, that bunker wall in. They teched up very quickly to that Banshee Thor coupled with the Marines and brought up some SCVs to repair those Thors. That was a very, very strong push, and had that gone through, had he taken out the remainder of our army there, clearly that would have wiped us out, especially if he had gotten rid of this hatchery. At this point, however, we are in a very good position. In fact, our Terran opponent does go ahead and leave the game. Now you may wonder, well, he just gave up. That doesn't really count. This isn't a real game. Well, let's just take a look here at precisely what's going on. If you take a look at our Terran opponent's base, he is going for that expansion now. He does realize that we've had this expansion up for so long. He went out with that giant push. It was it wasn't technically an all-in push, but he dumped a lot of resources into his army. He hadn't expanded at all, and he didn't even manage to take out our expansion. Because of that, he knows he's greatly behind. We have this giant task force of Mutalisks right here. If we were to push out at this point, we would absolutely devastate him. All he has is a handful of Marines. He's got one Thor in production, and that's it. We could take out so much of his economy. We'd easily be able to wipe out those Marines with the amount of Mutalisks that we're sitting on right now. So it wouldn't be much of a fight. It wouldn't be much of an issue. So that's precisely why he left the game. He just realized that with that push, not even succeeding in taking out our expansion, he didn't do nearly enough damage to warrant the possibility of a win. And the fact of the matter is that very shortly after this point, we would have moved in and taken him out. So again, this has been a variation of that Speedling Muta build. We tossed Banelings in there to deal with that double bunker wall in, and then we also showed you how to defend against that push, that high-tech push with those Thors and Banshees that could come shortly after that bunker wall in. Gonna go ahead and take a look at the build order real quick. Again, we started off with that 14 Extractor, followed up with a 14 Spawning Pool. That allowed us to get our Metabolic Boost really early. Now at 16 supply, we started researching our Queen. That's basically as soon as that Spawning Pool comes up. After dealing with that pressure, after dealing with getting rid of those bunkers, we were able to tech up to a Lair at 33 supply, and then Hatchery. That's when we dropped our expansion as well at 33 supply. At 34 supply, we got our double Extractors. As soon as this expansion came up, we also dropped our Extractors and saturated those, and then at 42 supply, we went for our Spire. Of course, in the meantime, we did get our Banelings nest basically as soon as we saw that wall, and we realized that Banelings were going to be our best course of action. So yeah, guys, again, this has been for StarCraft 2 Strategy. If you guys like what we're doing here, please do go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Keep watching and keep owning. As you can see, we do get a scan on top of our base, so he did miss the Spire tech. Unfortunately, the second his scan came down, of course, so did our Mutalisks pop up. But we're going to be pushing out with these Mutalisks right now and seeing what we can do for damage. Now, in this particular game, the Terran player wasn't properly prepared for Mutalisk tech.